This is Matt Barrows at the 49ers practice facility in Santa Clara. Game ball of the week. Well, there was no game this week, so let's do a game ball for the first half of the season. And there are a lot of candidates on offense. You've got Colin Kaepernick, you've got Frank Gore, you've got Anquan Bolden, you've got Vernon Davis. Defense, you've got Navarro Bowman and Justin Smith. But the guy I'd like to talk to is on what I thought was the best unit for the first half of the season for the 49ers, and that's the offensive line. Left tackle Joe Staley really stood out. Staley is a guy who hovers around 300 pounds, which would have been way too light for the NFL about 15, 20 years ago when offensive linemen, offensive tackles were 325, 350 pounds. But in this day and age when he's having to keep pace with very quick, very agile outside pass rushers, 300 pounds is perfect, and Staley's able to keep in front of them very well. He let up 0 quarterback pressures in the last 2 games, both wins over Nashville and Jacksonville, and he's also getting well downfield on running plays. Anytime that Frank Gore has a big running play, you'll see Joe Staley 10, 15, 20 yards downfield, sometimes even blocking cornerbacks. So he's been an asset in both the running and the passing game, and he gets my game ball for the first 8 games of the season. As far as opponents to watch coming up, the Carolina Panthers, the face of the Panthers franchise is their quarterback, Cam Newton. But I'd like to talk about a guy who's familiar to 49ers fans because he was in San Francisco the last 3 years, and that's receiver Ted Ginn. 2 of the 49ers' issues going into the second half of the season are that they haven't gotten much production from their number 2 wide receiver, and they haven't gotten much of a push in their return game. Well, Ted Ginn is doing both fairly well for the Carolina Panthers this year. He's got 21 catches for 367 yards and is averaging 17.5 yards a catch for the Panthers. Last year, he had exactly 2 receptions for 1 yard for the 49ers. And he's also doing well as a returner. He's averaging 24.7 yards in punt returns, doing well as a kick returner as well. Has not given up a single turnover in the return game. You know, one of the criticisms of the 49ers is that they've had trouble picking out wide receivers in the draft. Well, I think looking at what Ginn is doing in Carolina, you can also say that they've had trouble developing receivers as well, and that might be something to look at moving forward. This week's tweet of the week comes from Kevin Halfhill, who asks, what are the chances we see Aldon Smith play this week? Well, I think the chances are good. If you'll recall, back on Aldon Smith's last game for the 49ers, September 22, that was just 2 days removed from his DUI arrest, and the question at that point also was, how much is Aldon Smith going to play? Well, he not only ended up playing, he ended up playing the full game, every defensive snap and some on special teams as well. So if the 49ers coaches, if their GM conclude that he's taking all the right steps to get better, that if he's in a good place mentally, if he's in a good place emotionally, they're not going to have him stand on the sidelines. They're going to have him in the game, making plays and making plays with his teammates, which I think Jim Harbaugh really feels is the best place for not only his players, but players who are struggling. He thinks that the 49ers facility is a sanctuary for those players. There's no better place for a player than in the locker room with his teammates, on the field with his teammates. And so I don't think there's going to be anything stopping Aldon Smith from playing pretty much a full game against the Carolina Panthers.